Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey, everybody, Cantonese Cat here. There's a lot of confusions out there in terms of the cryptocurrency market, in terms of what we would expect with Bitcoin, with altcoins. Has altcoin season already started? Because you already saw XRP just kind of pump up to the moon. Has it actually not begun yet? Because Ethereum still hasn't made its all-time high or beyond. Is that ever even going to happen? Are we just going to end up not making all-time high in Ethereum like ever because it's trash and because there's just so much competition out there with Solana? Apparently Solana is also not doing very well, right? A lot of these narratives just kind of breaks down. I just find it to be not the best thing to do to pursue the narratives to try and justify for price action. I would rather look at as much data as I can possibly to kind of make sense of all this. And because there's so much confusion, here's another person or another cat here trying to make sense of it for you again, that may conflict with a lot of things that you're seeing out there too. Well, you know what? I'm just going to present my case. You decide, right? I mean, I don't really know anything. I'm just a cat. I have no idea. This is the US money supply. This is the United States money supply AM2. And this is the log scale. Throughout history, whenever this thing was documented, all the way from the 60s, really from 1959, if you will, it's just been money printing after money printing after money printing. I don't care if you're pegged to gold. I don't care if you're not. It's just money printing after money printing after money printing. It's basically going up from the left to the right on an uptrend in a log scale, right? That has not changed, right? What has recently changed was during COVID, we did end up having a significant rise of the M2 money supply for the US, but we have done enough quantitative tightening to really get us back into the right track here. Basically, it's fitting the exact same line that it was before. Things are going back to normal, and we are no longer sucking liquidity out of the system. If anything, if you kind of zoom in here, if anything, there's a little bit of a delay here. I think this only goes to December, right? That was already February. But if anything, I think it's on the up and up trend, right? It's getting pretty close to break its previous all-time high. If you're looking at China money supply, it's just been on the up and up. And so far for January, it's just been accelerating to the upside, right? Which might explain as to why Chinese market is actually pumping now in February. You look at Japan. Japan actually hasn't really done anything. I think they do have a lot of currency issues. They do have issues where the Japanese yen is lagging behind the US dollar. US dollar has been showing a lot of strength to the Japanese yen. So you are having a little bit maybe a hard time for them to really increase their M2 money supply. But guess what? Let me see. If I do USD JPY, which is the dollar versus yen here, you would see that I actually see a lot of similarities between where we're at right now and where we're at right here, right? I'll put up the RSI. I think it's going to give you a little bit of a better picture in terms of what I'm seeing here. You can see that back in 2015, 2014, 2015, all the way up, it was making this really, really big peak right here, right? Well, it was doing that in significant bearish divergence here on the monthly chart. And that has really peaked out around June 2015, right? And then RSI just plummeted down and it made a lower high, right? And so did this spread here against US dollar against Japanese yen. It made a little lower high over here, and it just started plummeting after that. I'm not saying that the same thing's going to happen because nobody really knows. I'm just looking at this. I'm just thinking that the trend of US dollar over Japanese yen seemed to probably be getting a little bit exhausted. It's been getting exhausted for about 2 years, right? From 2022 all the way to 2024, it's been going up on bearish divergence, right? Spread's been going up. US dollar has been strengthening against the Japanese yen. RSI has been plummeting down, right? And right now you have a little bit of a lower high, I see a lot of similarities between these two. I just wonder whether or not we're going to end up having the Japanese yen going down. The Japanese yen going up, and the US dollar is going to end up weakening against the Japanese yen, and that might allow the Japanese government to actually start printing a lot more money and to reaccelerate the whole uptrend here in terms of what their money supply is. The very interesting thing too, if you look at the Europe M2 money supply, you can also see that they actually did make an all-time high here. There's a little bit of a big dip over here, right? We're still nowhere near, I guess, where we were at before. I think we're still getting closer back to it. So they might actually need to reaccelerate their money printing here. The other thing too is you look at Great Britain M2, which is going to be the last one here. This is significantly lagging behind a lot of the other ones, right? Now, based on what I'm seeing here, because you have the big five economy with their money printing, they're all reaccelerated to the upside, except that there's lagging in Great Britain, there's lagging in Japan, right? There might be a little bit of a lag in terms of global liquidity expansion. Down here, this is the M2 global liquidity supply. M2 global liquidity index, excuse me. This is basically a summation of the M2 money supply from the US, China, from Europe, Great Britain, and Japan, right? The big five. And you can see that the entire time that I'm seeing here, and this is the Bitcoin chart on top right here, these are weekly charts because I want to see a little bit more like fine movements, on the way up here. You can see that it's basically, global liquidity has just basically just been going up to the right here, right? There are some period of time where it just stalls and Bitcoin stalls. There's some period of time where it goes parabolic up and then Bitcoin goes parabolic up. There's some time where it stalls and then Bitcoin stalls, right? There's time where it goes parabolically up and Bitcoin goes parabolic up, right? And there's time where it just stalls and the Bitcoin stalls here, right? We're exactly at the stalling moment right here. It basically just mirrors the two, right? It just mirrors the two very, very clearly. So Bitcoin is, I don't want to make like a causation kind of thing, but Bitcoin certainly seems to be where global liquidity wants to get into, right? If you have money printing, money tends to want to flow into Bitcoin. That's what you're seeing here, right? Then that's the case for the entire last decade or so. When you have money coming in, it flows into Bitcoin. Now, with that said, what should I say about the overall cryptocurrency market here? Where are we at right now? I think that we are at a very similar inflection point as we were before. And this has worked out through history time and time again, because you can see how generally there's a resistance of global liquidity over here. And when it breaks out, it does a back test. And when it's successfully done a back test, it just moons from here, right? And the Bitcoin moons along with it. Same thing here during a bear market. You have a hard time breaking above resistance here with global liquidity. Where global liquidity just kind of goes sideways here against resistance when you break out. You do a back test. Once you have a back test, then the global financial system says, okay, we're good. Let's just run it up from here, right? And Bitcoin runs up along with it. Guess what's happening right now? We've been stuck underneath this resistance here for quite some time, actually longer than we ever have during the previous two cycles, right? Here it lasted for maybe about 2.5 years. Here it lasted about 2 years. Here it's been about 3 years. The entire process of trying to get rejected here from the resistance and then break through and back test lasts for about 3 years. This cycle is a little bit longer. You can talk about the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin. You can talk about it's all about halving, things like that. I would argue it's actually about global liquidity. I think halving may be a little bit more coincidental. And then on top of that, I think halving is going to have much less effect for Bitcoin moving forward. So basically what I'm seeing here is I'm just seeing this thing playing over and over and over again, the same way over and over again. Is this time going to be different? Are we going to have global liquidity just plummeting down? Is there some kind of black swan event that we just don't need to print money anymore? I don't think so. I think that Bitcoin's building up a big giant cup over here with handle after handle. It looks like it just wants to continue going up higher. It doesn't mean that you should get into like leverage play and like, get into all this stuff, right? Because even if it goes up higher, this is log scale, right? This is the total cryptocurrency market. This is not even Bitcoin. But the majority of it is going to be Bitcoin. If I pull up Bitcoin, you're going to see the very same thing here. Bitcoin market cap. You're going to see the same thing here. Like it's basically the same. It's a liquidity play, right? So the cryptocurrency market overall and Bitcoin is a liquidity play. And we're getting a very, very important inflection point here. So what are we talking about here? Are there any other things that are telling us that, hey, I think that we're going to moon from here? Well, yeah, if you look at a couple of things. One is if you look at the cryptocurrency market cap. It doesn't really matter what you look at. You can look at total 1, total 2, or total 2, total 3. This is total 3. I just happen to pull this up here. This is the cryptocurrency market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, so it gives you a little better idea in terms of what altcoins are doing. It's doing a very similar thing that Palantir did. form big giant cup, handle, another handle here. The handle over here, backtest the Tenkan Kijun. Handle over here, backtest the Tenkan Kijun. Break through, right? Backtest the Tenkan here again. Backtest the Tenkan here again. Very similar look over here and over here. I just show you what I expect the global liquidity to do, right? It just backtests the resistance zone over here. It ends up mooning that I think Bitcoin and the whole cryptocurrency market is going to end up mooning from here, which is exactly how the infliction point here is showing. We basically have broke through all these resistance levels, flipping the support, and we're challenging the previous all-time high here. So I think we're at an important point where there's a good chance where global liquidity is going to keep coming now, and we're going to end up just having the cryptocurrency market cap exploding to the upside. That is my thesis. Has that happened before? Yeah, it has. Look at last cycle. Last cycle looked very similar, right? Where you have basically a big giant cup up here. The handles were smaller. I think last cycle just wanted to kind of speed up here in a hurry. The handles were smaller, but basically you had the same thing, right? You broke underneath of this and you broke through and you back tested Tenkan Kijun and it just mooned from there, right? So we're having very, very similar outlook here in terms of global liquidity, in terms of what we're seeing here in terms of the setup. It looks very, very similar. You can say, okay, if you look at just pound here, of course that's going to look like that. What about HIMS, right? Very, very similar look here, if you will, right? Same thing, broke back above Tenkan Kijun backtest and it just mooned, right? Very, very similar setup here. These like cup and handle things are, on the macro standpoint, it's going to work out very, very powerfully. So I can keep showing you more and more examples, something that's, you know, similar. Even I think even like back in Amazon, back in the dot-com bubble, as it recovered, it kind of go through very, very similar look here, although it didn't really impulsively go up because we ended up having a great financial crisis that shortly happened after that. But it even like this happens over and over again. So I think that if you want to bet on the entire world government just keep on printing money, you should not bet against cryptocurrency. You should not bet against Bitcoin. I guess is my point. The other thing too, if you look at like one of the big major participant of cryptocurrency in general is China. A lot of times Chinese government try to print money, and I just show you they're printing a lot of money. It has a big giant uptick in January, right? A lot of times they end up printing money and money end up not staying in China. Money end up flowing to US market, and money end up flowing over to Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market, right? Pretty much every time when you have the big giant run up of the Chinese market, this is the Hang Seng Index, pretty much every single time when you have a big giant run up of the Chinese market, the cryptocurrency market responds together with it. And guess what? What's happening here in 2015, 2016, 2017, right? The Chinese market did extremely well. This is the highest high that the Hang Seng Index was ever able to meet. It was back in January 2018, right? It never met that high ever again. But during the entire time, it was just kind of going up, 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 up. And guess what the Hang Seng was doing? The Hang Seng made an all-time high, and so did the cryptocurrency market cap, right? At the same exact month. Well, maybe not the same exact month, but similar, right? Actually, that is the all-time here in January 2018. And then when Chinese market doesn't do well, cryptocurrency market also doesn't do well at all, right? When is the next big giant move out here? That's the parabolic move up. It was during this period of time when the cryptocurrency market cap moving up was during this particular time when Chinese market was pumping up in just a few months, right? September 2022, January, February 2021, right? Was associated with this big giant pump up over here. Well, we haven't really had that pump in China for a very long time. We just simply haven't had that. So what's happening now is I think we're having a little bit of a Chinese breakout over here. And I just wonder whether or not this is going to be followed by the cryptocurrency market cap. What happened last time back in September in 2024? A big giant move up, right? I'm sorry about that. That was a little bit of an important phone call. This is why I'm not doing live streams recently. But you can see how back here in September 2024, you had a big giant pump in the Hang Seng Index, right? And this was followed by 2 months later is when you had that Bitcoin pump, right? It's delayed by about 2 months, right? And then if you look at previously too, with this big giant pump up here in November 2022, that was also delayed with a pump over here in Bitcoin after that. So there's a little bit of a lag here in Bitcoin for whatever reason this cycle, right? It didn't always used to be like that because here back in November 2020, I think everything just wanted like shot up at the same time because they think like global liquidity is just rushing in, and they just want to end the cycle. You can see how a lot of money end up exiting the Chinese market and actually end up entering the cryptocurrency market over here, right? But you can see how when there was a big giant candle here in November 2020, they pumped at the same time, but crypto just kept pumping higher. So there's a little bit of a lag, right? The previous cycle too, I would argue that there's maybe not that much of a lag here. I think they kind of went together a lot in synchrony here towards the last leg of this big giant run of the cryptocurrency market, right? And then right now we might be at an inflection point if the Chinese market actually goes up a lot higher. And I don't know how high it's going to go. I don't know whether or not it's going to make an all-time high here. And it could take its time. Maybe it just gets to 0.76 and that would be it. And that would be like 6 months. I don't know, right? It could end up being the cryptocurrency market could end up just going up along with it. Because that's what happened over the last 2 previous cycles. Right? If that's the case, then I think we are at a moment where we could have a pump coming, right? I just show you multiple things that could be the case. Now, one other thing too is usually during this last phase where you have global liquidity coming in a very strong way, like I was showing here, right, with the breakout and the backtest of the global liquidity, right, and the breakout and the backtest of the global liquidity here, right, and again with the breakout and the backtest here of global liquidity here, right. You can see how history has kind of just repeated itself over and over again. During the breakout, after the backtest, during the breakout when global liquidity just shoots up, after the backtest, during a breakout when global liquidity just kind of shoots up, that's when Bitcoin dominance drops. What Bitcoin dominance means is that what's the percentage of the market cap or the total cryptocurrency market cap belongs to Bitcoin. If Bitcoin dominates, that means the altcoins are suffering, right? If Bitcoin doesn't dominate, well, that means altcoins actually have a chance to breathe. That means the altcoin actually does really well. Bitcoin dominance, in general, is something that happens when the bull market is not getting to its euphoric phase quite just yet. That's what kind of happened over and over again. When you have high Bitcoin dominance, you don't really quite have that euphoric bull market kicking in. When Bitcoin dominance drops is when you start to have rotation of Bitcoin, money from Bitcoin going to other assets like small cap altcoins, Ethereum, Doge, so on and so forth, right? We haven't really had that happen yet because we just had a backtest over here. It's been going on for a very, very long time, longer than previous two cycles, right? I just showed you. Again, like 2.5 years, 2 years, 3 years. This is like the longest it's ever been. And Bitcoin dominance has been going up for longest than it's ever been. It's just been going steadily up for about 3 years, right? If you look at the Bitcoin dominance itself, and you try and chart it itself, this is the monthly version of it. I can make a case where we might have topped over here. Now, I just saw some other account, but basically, you just made a higher high here. It's going to continue to make higher high. I also look at divergences. And whenever you have a bearish divergence here, not just on the weekly here, but on the monthly, when you have a monthly divergence, that really tells me that this trend is really exhausted, right? I shouldn't use log, I should just use regular. But if you have a bearish divergence here and you make a little bit of a tiny higher high here, that tells me that the trend has really gotten exhausted. That also fits what I'm seeing here with global liquidity having hit the back test. It looks like it could run up a lot higher from here on out, right? So I see a lot of confluence between the two zones over here. That makes me wonder, is Bitcoin dominance going to drop from here on out? I also see a lot of things that I can see other people seeing too. One thing is if you look at the monthly chart here, yeah, I mean it's using the Tenkan here as support and pushing things a lot higher. If you're using the Bollinger Band here, yeah, it looks like it's just trying to challenge up a Bollinger Band. It looks like it wants to spread up Bollinger Band and just keep going a lot higher. If you look at the weekly over here, you're like, yeah, it came back test the lower Bollinger Band, came back up, and now it's touching up a Bollinger Band here. If it touches the 20, it could moon from here, right? If it finds support over there. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. All I have to say, all I have to say is this. All I have to say is this, and I don't have much else to say beyond that. I see us being in a very, very similar juncture over here, maybe compared to over here, right? Where it's kind of make a little bit of exhaustive higher high here, a lot of wicks, and then just plummet from there. I also see the same divergence here on the weekly time frame, and on the weekly time frame, it's actually, let me get rid of the Bollinger Band here. On the weekly time frame, if I do the RSI, it actually looks very, very exhausted, right? And you got these kind of like big giant wicks up here above. I think it wants to get rejected. I think the trend's getting exhausted. I could be wrong, and that's fine. If you based on traditional technical analysis, even when you look at Ichimoku, you're like, oh, I had a katana here, it's finding support here, Tengen in the kitchen, it could go up a lot higher. I don't know. All I know is I think like this is the first time it actually broke down underneath the Tengen kitchen and got really close to the cloud. And it made another exhaustive move on the way up. I think this could be it. I don't know if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I just think that if global liquidity ends up doing a backtest and ends up wanting to go up a lot higher from here on out, then I think Bitcoin dominance is going to drop. Ethereum dominance is the same thing. Basically, it shows your percentage of the cryptocurrency market cap that belongs to Ethereum, right? It has gone through a big giant drop over here, right? And it has gone through a big giant drop over here. Ethereum dominance has not been around for that long, so I only have like the last cycle and this cycle to kind of compare it to. During this bear market, you can see that Ethereum has severely underperformed the rest of the cryptocurrency market cap for 2 or 3 years until you have a back test, you have a breakout and a back test of global liquidity. And then Ethereum did extremely well, right? It went from 7% of the entire cryptocurrency market cap all the way to like 22% of the entire cryptocurrency market cap. And during this time, the entire cryptocurrency market cap was expanding too, right? So Ethereum did really well during this period of time. What happened after that? You have resistance right here, right? Global liquidity facing resistance, couldn't pump. Ethereum dominance dropped severely, right? Push through back test. What do we have here? Are things going to end up shooting from here? Does it mean that this is going to be at the bottom of the parabolic downtrend here for Ethereum dominance? Maybe, right? This is a big giant falling knife, by the way. I can't stress that enough. Like this is big bad giant falling knife. It's bad. It's very bad. But when things get there are a few things that can tell you about whether or not things could potentially bottom. One is when things get really bad. And if Ethereum is not getting like bankrupt, I don't know why Ethereum would get bankrupt because it's supposedly is like decentralized. If Ethereum sticks around and if the chart looks really bad, it has a chance to look really good over the next coming years, right? It's just one of those things. It just looks so bad that it can't get worse. And also, I see confluence over the last cycle to this cycle. So take it with what you will about any of this. All I have to say is that I also see a lot of confluence in terms of what Ethereum is doing compared to other things too, right? I can see the resemblance of Ethereum cycle here to HIMS before it broke out, right? HIMS certainly looked like it was doing a lot worse than it should be, and next thing you know, it's just kind of reverse trend here very fast, right? Ethereum is certainly doing a lot worse than what it should be, right? But who knows? It's finding a lot of key support here at the Ichimoku cloud, at the kitchen. I'm not sure we're going to close the month above the Tengen. That I'm not sure. If we end up closing above that, then moon we go. If not, we might need some additional time to kind of repair this. But so far, these are all engulfed by this big giant green candle over here, right? We have a little bit of rising 3 methods here, playing it on the monthly. Big giant green candle up, 3 candle down, not able to break underneath this green candle over here. Bullish continuation, right? That's generally how these kind of things work. So that's kind of it. I don't want to keep going on and on. It's already a 24-minute video. You guys have a good one. Take it easy. Bye.